TV18 presents a hybrid workplace, the future of business, powered by Zoom.
Hello and welcome to our special series titled CNBC TV18 presents a hybrid workplace, the future of business, powered by Zoom. I'm your host Gautam Srinivasan, and the theme of today's discussion is employee engagement and development in a hybrid workspace, where I'll be speaking with leaders in the human resources space from a variety of sectors to understand the challenges and solutions that this new normal of a hybrid work world brings to the table. Our lineup of leaders for this talk includes DP Nambiar, Vice President of HR at DCS, Edwin Lobo, Vice President Human Resources Administration and CSR at Mahindra Logistics, Sunita Cherian, SVP and Chief Culture Officer at Wipro, Rajita Singh, HR Head at Broadridge, Mike Clark, COO and CHRO at Hero Motocorp, and of course we have with us Sameer Rajay, General Manager and Head for the India and SAARC region at Zoom. So let's begin by first understanding the challenges when it comes to this new normal of a hybrid workplace. Edwin, we'll start with you. As you launched your company's hybrid work plans, we want to understand from you, what were some of the early obstacles which you encountered in sort of managing a hybrid workforce? Take us through the Mahindra Logistics experience.
Well, Mahindra Logistics is one among the few early companies who launched the remote working policy. And we had our shares of obstacles at the early stage of policy when we launched it. It had created a sort of a perception that there are some employees who get preference because they had the flexibility of remote working option. There are many employees who are assigned office role by virtue of their roles. They envy those who have been given a remote working role, since there are some advantage with regard to convenience and flexibility they enjoy. There were also many employees who, to our surprise, preferred to come to office and work, although they were assigned a role wherein they could work remotely. Many did approach their management representatives to change their status, since working from office minimizes distractions on the home front, as many did not have the required infrastructure to function optimally from homes. So another challenge that we had, the managers who are having a large teams who wanted to work from office, showing reservations to permit their few team members to work remotely, and a few from office, as all of them were working as one single team. Similarly, post-lockdown, when we wanted our employees who were mapped to work from office, we wanted them to be back to work at office. Some of them wanted to continue to work from home, and this was resulting in sort of some amount of irritation too. So it was a mix of good and not very pleasant experience we had to encounter, put together when we launched our hybrid and our remote working policy.
So Mike, let me bring you in. How do you plan to use, say, collaboration solutions or tools to kind of enable the hybrid workforce in this new normal? And, what does your office look like in the future?
So when you talk about the future office, well, I can reimagine the kind of office in the future. And we are starting to do that here in Motocorp. In fact, one of the advantages has been where we have right now, we've actually reduced 57% of our office space in the NCR area and 28% of our office space across India. But some of those areas that will be helpful will be talking about zoning in on collaboration spaces, zoning in on innovative spaces, and zoning in on those areas for social interactions. So they're the kind of things that we've been doing. And one of the things that we'll be exploring is how virtual reality can actually come in, so you can actually bring that home office capability into the main office so people can collaborate much more easily and much more comfortably.
Sameer, you've heard what Mike and Edwin said. I want to get your response on, how can communications platforms be leveraged to foster cohesiveness between remote and on-site team members? Because as Edwin stated, there's still that divide. And as Mike has added, that they're looking at approaching the office of the future in the context of innovation, collaboration, and interaction.
I completely agree with them. And we need to understand it's not about hybrid, it's not about being in office. What is cohesiveness? Why do we feel that the teams are cohesive in office or when they are sitting together? And that's exactly what the collaboration tools are. We need to understand that collaboration is not about content collaboration. It's not about coordination, but it is also about building a shared understanding, relationships, and trust. And a collaboration platform that helps you build that seamlessly and without friction is basically replicating your office culture, your office scenario, your when you're sitting together, that exactly virtually in a virtual environment, that's the collaboration platform. And that's probably enabling you working from anywhere. You could be in a cafeteria, you could be in home, you could be in office, thinking or making a lot of hue and cry about, oh, collaboration is about hybrid, collaboration is about empowering people working from this location and that. It's not about content sharing, but it's about getting people together. And that's what we do at Zoom, getting everybody together, irrespective of their location and without boundaries and frictionless. COVID has taught us that collaboration platforms are today a lot more about building shared understanding, relationships, and trust. And that's what we do at Zoom.
Rajita, let me bring you in. Tell us, what are the latest measures that have been taken across organizations that you see to improve employee engagement while driving the right balance between remote and in-person work? Your thoughts on this?
Before we get into what, we were trying to do, we wanted to ensure that we have the right framework in place. And we kind of classified it in the 5x5, as I call it. The first is the 5 needs of humans at work. That's I matter, I belong, I'm enabled, I can contribute, and I'm respected. And if you look at it for, the 5 needs from the workplace standpoint, are purpose, culture, clarity, recognition, and trust. Our focus has been on going back to the purpose of the organization, that we care for our associates and they belong here. So creating the tribe kind of culture and giving them that tangible identity that even if I'm physically not coming into work, this is how I can associate and connect with the organization because the purpose is aligned with what I'm trying to do. You will not believe it. We've started a very new thing called Did You Know? And the Did You Know series is bit size like Twitter, and we are sharing information every Thursday about anything and everything that pertains to the organization. What we've also started to focus a lot more is earlier we used to, do recognition in pockets and in silos based on businesses and products. But now we are recognizing work and saying thank you at multiple forums, which includes recognition at the senior most leadership.
Let me get in DP for his perspective on this. DP, according to you, what unique approaches are required to boost employee morale and engagement? We've heard from Rajit on what Broadridge does to kind of keep everyone engaged, but also turn them into champions for the company. But what happens when it comes to large companies? How do you kind of harmonize that approach to still get that feeling of get-go for the employees?
Some very traditional stuff like actual one-to-one connects, virtual connects, and we connected with 450,000 people every quarter and through virtual connects, one-on-one connects, as well as getting the leadership to spend time with them. Now this is interesting. We got leader connects to be done at much greater frequency once we moved into the hybrid model than it was in the previous model. Because we realized that it was extremely important that communication, communicate is the mantra. Because you need to reach out, you need to communicate, you need people to understand that the organization is there for you, first thing. Secondly, we created a lot of internal collaboration. So existing collaboration tools were taken and developed. We created what we call the 1TCS channel. And there is constant messaging and information that becomes available there for our people so that they understand what's happening in the organization, what's happening in their part of the organization, and how can they play a role in that. So that's the other thing that we felt was extremely important. From an HR perspective, we put in place virtual HR base so that so the people are typically used to HR BPs being available in a what we call a development center. But here we put in virtual HR base so that people just walk to the HR folks and connect with them. We launched what we call engagement with purpose, where the focus was on ensuring that every one of our people understood the values of the organization, that they understood that their health and well-being was paramount, and we were constantly engaged with them and supporting them on that aspect. Understood the importance in our industry of constantly learning and staying relevant, and understood what the organization offers for, towards that, understood what the career path would look like, and also we gave them a peek into what they can do with respect to serving the communities that we are in, the kind of social collaboration that is possible.
CNBC TV18 presents a hybrid workplace, the future of business, powered by Zoom. Future of business, powered by Zoom.
Samir, let me bring you in to discuss the technology aspect. We've spoken about how companies are kind of reinforcing the fact that employees are special and making them feel special. But what role does technology play here, and how can it be used to reinforce culture within the organization and keep employees engaged and loyal? Could you share some of your customer success stories in this regard?
We have a very large technology customer based out of Bangalore, and we were talking about Bangalore weather. So I'm choosing a customer from Bangalore. That particular customer, they have replicated this so nicely right from the moment you enter the office, where the gate pass itself is created using some kind of technology. It goes to the appropriate person. From there, the welcome message to reservation of meeting rooms, to interactions, to floor displays, everything is on Zoom. Even the birthday announcements, even availability of conference room to the next conference room, scheduling of desktops, scheduling of workspace, everything is happening on a collaboration platform by Zoom. And that's so amazing to see, because you really feel that what kind of an organization I have entered, because the moment even to create a gate pass, you have to enter itself on some kind of a tablet. There is no paper printouts, nothing, and it just takes you in at a touch of a button. And that's the beauty of technology, right? And if all this can be replicated, what is happening on the physical world in the virtual world, that's where we are headed towards.
So Sunita, let me come to you and ask, how are HR leaders currently leveraging digital tools to develop learning plans that meet the expectations of a hybrid workforce? And if you could share a few examples that could shed light on this, considering such a large organization, so much people movement, we'd love to hear from you. How, as a people leader, do you manage this?
Entire feature about hybrid and working from home and the use of technology, I don't think it's so different or new for the IT organizations, because we've kind of embarked on that many years ago. Specifically for Wipro, Gautam, what really worked for us was, and it was not kind of planned that way. We were going through a culture transformation at Wipro, so we were emphasizing on ways of working and the behaviors at play. And it so happened that they all became so relevant, when the lockdown happened. So it just fell into place. And the fact is that we've hired so many employees in this 2-year period, and the fact that they've all seamlessly gelled with the fabric of the organization, because clearly I think we have a distinct culture, and what we do want to do is preserve that culture so that every Wiproite kind of lives and breathes it. So how do you ensure that this culture is something that percolates to that new employee who joins the organization was critical. And I must say we've managed to do it pretty successfully, thanks to the technology that came to our aid.
So Samir, let me bring you into this aspect of the conversation on employee development, which is learning. Any insights from your customer or prospect base? What are the conversations or new conversations that you are having?
Last year when we were all working in a very seriously tight COVID situation, lockdown situation, we held what was known as Camp Zoomitude. And we got all the Zoomy kids, from entire world together on a 1-hour session for 1 week together. And it comprised of drawing competitions to, storytelling and all that stuff across various cultures, various countries. And it was so much of a fun time, Even today, the kids remember it across the world, and they still are asking for it. This was followed with, providing with apps and tools to the employees themselves for mental health, such as yoga and rest of the things. And all these came out so well, and it was also helped with reading subscriptions like Epic and so on and so forth for the kids. The entire family came together. That's what we are looking for at an organization. Whether you're working physically in office or whether it's virtual, then it doesn't matter. So that's just an example of what we did at Zoom to come out as a very strong unit together.
Rajita, let me bring you in. What would be the unexpected pitfalls of, say, hybrid working arrangements? Your thoughts on this?
If I am not in office and I don't meet somebody face to face, there's a possibility with that when the performance appraisals happen or when a major decision is happening, because we're used to, I just walk out of my cabin, I say, hey, can we just have grab a quick cup of coffee, get done with the decision, come back, and we're sorted. But now in the virtual world, that is not possible. So I think one of the pitfalls on that is that you can't make decisions that quickly. Leaders have to be a little more patient, in taking people along. There has to be a lot more appetite for failure. What I mean by that is that, workers, we need to get used to workers working without a boss, right? Because in the virtual world, you can't be there all the time. And there's so much flexibility that in our industry we've baked in today, that I've had cases where people have said, you know what, I'm not going to work from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. I'm going to log in at 6 p.m. and I will work through the night and I ensure that I will be done. And I think that's the advantage of working from home, right? That I have the luxury of time and I can balance my priorities very clearly. So I think that's a pitfall that leaders need to accept, that, if somebody's going to make a mistake, while they will be held accountable, we need to celebrate those kind of failures as well, right? A little more than what we are used to. Then the other thing is, we've been talking of communicate. Of course, it's very critical. But then the fact is, if we are only communicating and not acting on it, that becomes a challenge again. We said that, when people hear us, they want to see instant action as well. So if I'm announcing a policy, or if I say that I am listening to you and you gave me this feedback, I need to show action immediately. Earlier, we used to talk of instant gratification or recognition. This is instant action. It's out of my mouth, now go implement it today, kind of thing. So the speed of execution has changed.
Edwin, let me bring you in at this point. How do you see hiring changing in the new normal, and the trends that you're witnessing in the digital age? We've heard of the various issues which come about. So bringing it all together, how do you see the very aspect of hiring change itself?
Some of the key hiring trends we are witnessing, complete process of in the virtual world, from selection to interviewing and onboarding across the levels. It is happening virtually today. With that, we also need to have a focused approach on our better onboarding experience for the candidates who we select, supported by virtual orientation and also induction sessions for them. There is also a high focus on speed in hiring process and adapting to the new world where candidates do not need to be physically present to get assessed. Also, on the flip side, the digital age has brought forward a virtual aspect which has almost diluted the advantage of meeting the candidates in person. Also, in addition to this, we are also experiencing sort of a trend where candidates are holding multiple offers and negotiating parallelly with several organizations, which is making expectations management a larger concern. This has also impacted organizations' joining ratio, since candidates are leveraging on counter offers despite organizations going on full mile to meet their expectations. For us at Mahindra Logistics, the hiring has seen momentum in roles pertaining to warehousing operations, transportation, automation, vendor management, digital, and various roles, specifically the large businesses of e-commerce and consumer and manufacturing operations that we manage. We also been focusing on DNI-based hiring from diverse talent pools like persons with disabilities, people from the LGBTQI community, women with the second career program. We also have armed forces veteran, the scheme called VEER, we call Veteran Employment Engagement and Retention Program.
Mike, let me bring you in for the way forward. What are some of the ways in which you are setting up your hybrid workforce for success?
I think most importantly, it's about shaping the culture. And we talked a little bit earlier about making people feel comfortable working at home or working in a workspace. And for example, Dr. Pavan Munjal, when he's doing his town halls and he's speaking, he's having his family around him. His grandchildren are climbing over his knee. So making our leadership be role models in this is a key to being successful. Full inclusivity, we have to recognize certain parts of our business. We have 6 major plants. Some of our people can't actually work from home because they're there to make sure that the plant is operating. So how can we be agile enough to include those individuals in a hybrid model? And I think finding those windows where everybody can be included, where we don't have emails for say 3 hours, we don't have meetings for 3 hours, and we generate collaboration around innovation. And I think bringing those techniques in is a great way of actually getting people to recognize the value of a hybrid working model.
All right. Sunita, coming to you, some of the best practices for managing performance development in a remote or hybrid workplace.
So performance management, Gautam, the way I look at it, fundamentals have to be in place. So, you have to have solid goals that you're setting, irrespective of whether you're in the office or you're working hybrid. So it's important to have a good set of goals. It's important for the managers to know exactly, the kind of feedback, the way you should be providing the feedback. So I don't think those things have changed at all. Probably what has got accentuated is that the feedback needs to be far more continuous than waiting till the end of the quarter or till the end of the year, etc. Because people do want to know, especially when you're not around and they just can't knock at your rooms to kind of check in. So these two become extremely important, and of course the coaching that the employees need based on the feedback that they've been given. How robust is the systems supporting them through technology to kind of help those?
We have completely run out of time. It brings us to the end of this conversation, and what a conversation it has been around employee engagement and development in a hybrid workspace. This is part of a special series titled CNBC TV18 presents A Hybrid Workplace, the Future of Business, powered by Zoom. I'd like to thank all of our panelists for sharing their lessons and insights on the topic, and of course to all of our viewers for tuning in and enabling a dynamic interaction of thoughts and ideas. Thank you so much. Till next time, this is your host, Gautam Srinivasan, signing off. Have a great day.
CNBC TV18 presents A Hybrid Workplace, the Future of Business.